All right. Welcome everyone to Soul Quest episode 45. I'm so excited to introduce to you my friend, Lian Pham, who is an amazing entrepreneur of many, many businesses. It's quite fascinating, her portfolio of businesses. I would love to talk about all of them, but today we're going to be focused in on her current passion, which is MetaHug. And so thank you, Lian, for being here today.
Thank you for the introduction, and I'm so happy to be here. So MetaHug is my passion project. It's an organization, and our vision is to create a a community platform for kids by kids to support them with kids with globally with needs that with limited resources through funds, mentorship, and especially Web3 education. So that's basically the focus, and that's what we're doing.
That's so amazing. So and I'm sure a lot of people that are hearing that are probably like, what does that mean? So what started you on this journey? Like what led you to get the idea of MetaHug, and then what exactly is that going to look like?
So MetaHug is from my past, my story, and this is how I created it, and so I'll explain that. My story began before I was born. In 1975, my parents fled Vietnam, and we were sponsored by a Jewish family from Little Rock, Arkansas, and so that's where I was born. But I have these really fond memories with my mom on the weekend, just going to them and saying thank you and showing gratitude. And, my dad was becoming a lawyer, my mom was a banker. And because of the war and they escaped the war, they had to start all over. And I found it so fascinating that someone took them in, gave them a place to stay, fed them, taught them English,
That's amazing.
just everything. And I think the only thing my mom knew like skill wise was sewing. And so she taught my dad, and then that's how they became tailors. So I'm the oldest of three, but I grew up in a tailor shop,
Wow.
helping my parents. I had at a very young age, like 5 or 6, walking with my mom on Sunday, just saying thank you and showing gratitude back to the family. And I remember walking and thinking, it's so fascinating, so amazing that a stranger did an act of kindness and changed my parents' life. I mean, and my life and my kids' life and generations later. So growing up, that was kind of like my thing. I wanted to intentionally always go do an act of kindness specifically to a stranger, because I thought it was so fascinating how that happened. Anyway, so basically, fast forward years later, I was 16, got my first job as a hostess at China Coast. And at this time, I saw these ads.
Oh my gosh, I remember that place.
So I used to see these ads that you could feed a child a month with $1 or something like that, right? And at the time, you had to mail it in. So I kind of started my journey there, and then I ended up joining SOS Village Adoption Program. And became the youngest ambassador at that time. So I was adopting different kids around the world. And then I would save money and I would fly there to go see them and visit them.
That's I love it.
So I did that for a while. And then, my whole life has kind of been that way. So I would whether that was an opportunity. We had in Houston, a Burmese family, it was a lot of family that kind of took over this apartment complex. And I saw an article in the Houston Chronicle saying that they had to cook rice without rice cookers. So long story short, I was throwing parties back then. So I took the money from that. I went to go buy 200 rice cookers for the apartment complex. So
wow.
So I was just always doing these random things. But the intention was always to give back. So then I ended up having my own kids. And so I'm a single mom of 2, a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old. And it's always on my mind. I spent my entire life did this journey physically, going and do these acts of kindness.
Mhm.
How do I teach my kids and generations later to do this? And because I'm also in Web3, so I understand the metaverse and that, so that's kind of where my mind is. And so I was like, how do we create a platform to where they can give back and continue this journey that I've created for myself uh, uh, through gaming or through the metaverse? And so that's how MetaHug came about, was, you know, how you continue giving hugs to everyone globally and through the metaverse. So that's why I created MetaHug.
That
That's
name
how
is amazing. I love the name. The name is perfect. So,
Yeah.
okay, so amazing. Oh my gosh, that is so cool that you did all that stuff and that you got to do it in person, like just donating all those rice cookers, like the
Yeah. So
act of like actually doing something instead of just donating the money feels so good. Wow.
yeah. And I think when I was doing it early on, I realized it wasn't not only the person receiving, I like it was fulfilling myself, right? And so
Right,
I was
right.
always just in a yeah, I've always just been that way.
Mhm.
And one thing that did happen during COVID was we reunited with Peter and his family, who sponsored my parents.
Oh
And
wow.
that's when that's when I found out, because I had so many questions, and my sister,
Yeah.
it was like a reunion. Um, we found out that he sponsored my parents in the same way, and he was giving back as an act of kindness, because a similar situation with his grandmother that escaped Russia to New York City. So very, very similar story, but different time. But so
Wow.
this happened way before, like, you know, and so it's so fascinating when you actually think about life and how um, this this
Ripple effect,
all
right?
these, yeah, there's ripple effect. It's like imprinted on your DNA before your existence. And so
Yeah.
it's just such an amazing feeling when you actually understand and connect it all, you
Mhm.
know. um, and the
Yeah.
whole purpose of MetaHug is to create a platform to where we can um, show other kids globally around the world, even through the metaverse, you can still give back. So
Mhm.
that's kind of the, you know, the organization. That's what we do.
That is so great. And so explain to people that don't know exactly what is Web3.
Right. So I'll try to explain it. So there's very many different ways to explain it, but I think the important thing to understand is what is Web 1 and Web 2, and that way we can explain Web 3. So
Mhm.
so the way you explain Web 1.0 is basically from 1994 to 2004 is when the internet, the beginning of .com. When you go to a computer, it was very static. It was read only. You would, it's kind of like just going to get consume information only, and it's like a Wikipedia. You're just going there just to get information.
Mhm.
And of course, we evolved over time. And so what people call Web 2.0 is when we start having HTML and JavaScript and all these different other programs to make it more interactive. So Web 2.0 is definitely the main thing is the interactivity and the connection with social connection. And that's when we saw companies like Facebook and YouTube build on Web 2, was because we had HTML and JavaScript and all these other things.
Mhm.
But the main thing here in Web 2 is basically what we're living in now. It's 2004 to now. And so we're able to log into accounts. We're able to do likes and emojis and all these different things. And so just think of the internet evolving one more time, right? And so we're going through this phase. And this is what everybody's calling Web 3.0, is we are now in a phase where we will be living on the internet through the blockchain. So the main thing just to understand there is decentralized. So the main thing, the difference is Web 2 is centralized. So we have organizations and companies like Facebook, YouTube, and all these that control our data. They're very centralized. It's all these centralized companies. And then when you move to the blockchain, it's all decentralized. And so now the data is actually owned by the people. So that's really the main difference between the two. And I love the space. It's a very passion of mine. I'm very pro decentralization. So for a
Yes.
long time
I
now,
love it. Me too.
I just yeah, definitely been waiting for this day, and it's definitely coming. I would argue we're already kind of in the space Web 3. I guess it just, I guess it depends who you're talking to and where you're
Right.
at.
You're right. Right. It's kind of like everybody's perception and where
Yeah.
you spend your time. Because I know you said that you took, you kind of got off social media, most of social media, because you wanted to focus on Web3 and decentralization. So,
Yeah.
and so, and I know there's a lot more to talk about in that because a lot of people just don't understand. And you've really taught me a lot. I mean, I had a little bit of it in my brain, but since I'm not, seeing it every day, it just kind of would leave. So now that
Yeah.
I've been talking to you, I'm really understanding it more, and it's just fascinating and so needed in this
Yeah.
world. And I'm so excited. So
Yeah.
the MetaHug has kind of a dual purpose, right?
Yes. Yeah, I guess yeah. If you're talking about like it's a DAO.
Yeah.
So that's
So, okay.
another
So
thing we
the
have to explain.
DAO, I know this is where it can get confusing. So MetaHug is created to create social impact heroes, right? Is that your mission with the kids? And
Yeah.
then the other part of that is the DAO.
Yeah. So here, maybe I
Okay.
can try to explain it. So the mission is to support globally children and kids around the world have limited resources. So whether that's EQ, like emotional support, or funds, right? And the way we do that is through mentorship, and we give them the tools for Web3, because this generation is the next workforce. They're the future work. And so I'm in the space, and so I know like all the new jobs that are coming out. And I feel there's a need, a social responsibility as a parent, that we have to set up our kids for success. Like we have to do it, right?
Yeah.
And so I created this DAO, which stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. But it's basically, I'll explain what a DAO first is. So a DAO, think of it like a new LLC. So an LLC is centralized, but a DAO, similar, an organization. So it's a company, like a company, an organization, but it's decentralized. And the main difference is instead of having one person in charge, right, like an authority, it's decentralized. So all the members of the DAO are the people running the company. And you do that through various different things. But in the future, the way I see it is we're going from a world that's centralized to a decentralized world. And so we will see in the future more and more DAOs are developing, right, are coming up, different organizations. And they're already doing that right now. But eventually in the future, all LLCs or all organizations will be DAOs. So how do we teach our kids to have the tools to understand how to run those types of companies? So that's the reason why I made MetaHug a DAO, was because, again, the support is Web3 through Web3 education. So that's like kind of my main thing, but you do that through practice. So any kids that joins the DAO, by default, by practice, by being involved, they're learning all the Web3 tools. So it's by design.
Yeah, that's great. And so kids are joining the DAO. So this is going to be strictly for kids, the DAO?
Yeah, and when I say kids, it's Gen Z and Gen Alpha. So
okay.
25 and under.
Okay. That's so incredible. Okay.
Yeah.
And so they're working on the MetaHub.
Right. So right now, what we're creating right now is we're creating a world in Roblox to teach to teach gamified education, but we're giving the people in the DAO are actually working on these different projects. So they're called bounties, but basically, just think of it as a gig. So basically, there's a gig that comes out and say we need XYZ done. And we're giving these kids in the Philippines, that's part of the DAO, or in Nigeria, or different parts of the world, a chance to create income for their family, kind of. That's kind of the idea. But by default, they're learning how the DAO system works. And so by default, they are learning Web3 tools, is the idea. But right now, our focus is in Roblox because of the amount of users. And we are creating games in Roblox. And so that's what they're working on. And that's not to say 10 years from now we won't be working on something else. That's just what we're working on now. So Roblox is just a project that we're working on right now, right?
Okay.
And then it's going to be like Minecraft, and it could be more Fortnite. It could be anything. Yeah. So but the main focus is they're joining it down because they're learning how to operate and function in the Web3 world. But we're giving them resources to code and make games and market games, and they have all kinds of different jobs. But so that's the idea.
That's so cool. All right. And so MetaHug is going to be basically you're like starting this journey in Roblox.
Correct.
And I just love that whole idea of gamified learning.
Yeah.
The kids are going to be learning. What kind of things are they going to be learning besides Web3?
So yeah, we're starting off with Web3 education inside Roblox right now, but we're also there's different parts of the world. So in our world, we have different lands. And so that would be like Web3 land. And then so we also have sustainability, we have world language, soft skills, we have sports and entertainment, hospitality. So there's just like you would go on out of school or some of these other platforms, Skillshare, you have different categories. You can go in and learn these different things. An example would be, let's see, like Target could be, they go to Target store, they can learn visual merchandising, right? So that's the type of stuff that they'll learn. So it's like a lesson, and they would have takeaways from it. Harmless coconut water will be teaching about electrolytes. So they are learning different things inside all the different worlds. And, we're going to have, even like for Web3 world, we'll set up to where they'll learn how to open a crypto wallet. They'll understand what blockchain is. They understand like how blockchain can solve problems through track and trace through farming. So those are the things that they're going to learn.
Amazing. And so when in the game do they get to the point where they're able to give back?
Right. So on the game itself, there's two sides of it. On the game itself, it's set up to where, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with Roblox, but basically, there's tokens inside Roblox. That's not the Robux, but basically in our world, you can collect hugs, which is points, but basically you have to do it through different courses. So the courses for that game would be like 5 things that you have to pass. Then you'll gain your 1 token, right? And so you can only earn tokens through learning in our game, which is very different from other games. So you have to learn. You have to learn to earn the tokens. But there's different levels, just like different games have different levels. So by the time you reach to the very top, the top of the game is you basically win the game by choosing to give back. And so it's called level 6. When you get to level 6, you'll have there's like the spinning world that you can teleport to. But basically, once you're up there, there's different charity groups and different projects, kind of like a Make-A-Wish Foundation, but different stuff that you can, whether you want to help fund clean water, or you want to give a village laptops. So there'll be different things, and I'll have like a number to it. But basically the child, once they get up to that level, the idea is it's up to them. We don't control that. So they have to want to do it, but they can decide they want to give all of it back or part of it back, that they can take all their tokens and then go put it towards one of the charity or like one of the projects. And we actually execute that in real life. So that's the difference that we're doing. But that is a true child that understands giving back, and that's the whole premises of the game. But in order to get there, you have to learn everything, though.
Yeah. Right. Right. And so they're getting a lot out of it. They're getting to play and be engaged. They're learning about something, and they're able to have that feeling of giving back, like picking and choosing what they want to give back to. That's so cool. I love it. So like all these parents that are worried about their kids on Roblox playing games too much, send them to this gamified learning where they can learn so much about themselves and the world. It's definitely a better experience for them on there. Even though Roblox they're learning a lot, you know.
They
I
are.
feel like Millie has learned a lot on there. Just she'll tell me things. I'm like, how do you know that? Oh, it's on Roblox. I'm like, oh, okay.
No,
So,
I think it's amazing. I think, for me, as a single mom and entrepreneur, I'm like clearly really busy, just like
mm,
everyone else. I'm always they're both of them, even the 4-year-old is part of that 50 million user a day statistic,
mhm,
right? So I'm always like, how do we make it more productive and how do we make it more meaningful? And so that's kind of why the gamified education, how that came about was
mhm.
just, I'm just a mom solving my own problems like every other
Yeah.
mom, but like, because I had MetaHug and everything else, it made sense to like, how do you gamify education? But the core meaning of it is you can learn and have fun, but how do you actually give back? Because that's,
Mhm.
life is more than that. So
Yeah.
that's how the whole premise of gamified education came about was because I was trying to solve my own problems, but
Yeah. But you used your passions and your experiences and put them all together and just created this amazing thing. Wow.
yeah,
I'm so impressed with you.
thank you.
So, and
It's
so how's this gonna pan out? Like, when's it gonna be ready?
So the official launch for the world itself will be probably at the end of the year because all the kids are working on it right now. Like it's like a thing that they're working together on. The DAO right now, we're starting to have more and more people come in, but that's going on right now. So the DAO is actually functioning and that's going on, and the kids are working together collaboratively and working on building out this world. Um, I say, but probably end of the year for sure is when we're going to launch. But yeah, I mean, it's for me, I think it's the main thing is that's where the gamified education is great because I really believe in micro learning and learning when you want to learn. So that's how I learn. So I'm
Mhm.
very passionate about that. But I think the main goal for anybody that's joined the DAO or any parents out there, um, the biggest thing is to know that the next, like the future work will be um, decentralized, whether we can really grasp that or not.
Mhm.
But it's no different when we went from Web 1 to Web 2, when Facebook and social media came out and all these new jobs came out.
Right.
It's exactly the same. It's just however you want to run a Web 2 company, it's going to be the same with Web 3. It just takes you to have different. It's not even different skill sets. It's just different knowledge. So you just have to be educated.
Mhm.
So you don't need to be like a person that codes to be in Web 3, right? Because I think that's a misconception a lot of times.
Okay.
Web 3 companies will need marketing managers, product managers. I mean, it's basically they'll need an accountant, but the accountant needs to know crypto now. So, that
Yeah.
it's just education. And then the product manager or product, developer who needs to understand how blockchain works so they can like manage the project. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's what I mean. It's like it's not, like we're just evolving. Everything is kind of similar, but no one's really taking the initiative to teach our generation,
Mhm.
our kids to be ready to take the next step.
Yeah.
So whether it's through our DAO or through somewhere else, I think the message is we just have a social responsibility to set up our kids for the future work. I
Mhm.
mean, you know, I
Totally.
think I think people in the space have been waiting, and I've been waiting since 2015. So,
You're like, come on, people.
yeah, so I think it's really important to say that it is coming, and because of COVID, ironically, because of COVID, the boom of NFTs really put it kind of on the map in terms of mass adoption.
Mhm.
Kind of, just for that, it's still more than usual, but at least now we see people who want to open a crypto wallet just because they're collecting an NFT, right? But that didn't happen. It really was because of COVID that really pushed that. Everybody was like in the house. Now they've had to collect digital art or whatever it was that
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
doing. Um, but it forced people to kind of like open a wallet and took these steps, right?
Mhm.
And I opened my wallet in 2014 when I bought Bitcoin, but like, you know, it just took that long for adoption. But it's definitely here now, and it's gonna be amazing, because the stuff that we can change the world through decentralization and like not having one authority and everything's distributed.
Mhm.
We get to own our own data. You know,
Yeah.
it's just more power to the people, you know, and
Yeah. That's what
it's
we
really
need.
going to change things. And we're going to see it, because, you know, we're going to see blockchain affect, you know, every industry, whether people understand that or not. It will affect the way we do healthcare records, which is really needed.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
The way.
I mean, my parents and like Millie's dad's parents, the issues they have with like no communication between doctors, like all the time they tell me stories like this doctor didn't know that this doctor prescribed me this and blah blah blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening in these
Yeah,
hospitals?
yeah. It's good. I mean, it's good that it can solve all these
Yeah.
problems, like, you know, track and trace and make everything more efficient. So pretty excited that, you know, we have some adoption.
Yeah. And so are there any companies that we would know of that are already kind of joined the bandwagon, like big companies?
Yeah. So Google, Amazon, Apple are all right now. I mean, they've been working on, not like right now, but they've been working on implementing Web3 apps into
Oh
their
wow.
services. So for sure, I know that for sure. I mean, Siri is on Web3, with
Oh.
like with AI and everything. But like so Siri is actually already operated that way. But as you can see, the big companies, who went through Web 1 to Web 2, that understand and the shortcomings, you know, of Web 2, now they can see it, and so now they're already implementing these things. But what does that mean for our generation? That means that if these big companies are doing it, of course, there's going to be all these other companies that are going to be jumping the bandwagon too,
Yeah.
and it'll be. And so I know that's coming, and I have two little ones, and so it's really important that we like we educate them, you know, we
Mhm.
train them, so they can understand like how to navigate the future, because it's going to take their generation. The adoption's going through now. It's going to take them to really make the difference, like to handle all the global challenges with climate change and everything that we're doing right now. It's going to be like, I mean, the future's in their hand. And if we don't do our job teaching them, then we didn't do our job.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So exciting.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm so glad that we crossed paths because I felt like this has been like lingering in my brain since I would think it was 2017, I think, when my friend Annie started telling me about this and telling
Uh-huh.
me you need to buy Bitcoin and do all this and then it just like I was interested in it for a little while and then I just kind of like, well, I just went back to my normal comfortable life and
Yeah.
then you kind of like sparked it again. I'm like, okay, I got to know this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a little bit of misconception between like crypto and blockchain, you know.
Yeah.
Uh anyways, I bought Bitcoin in 2014, but it took me a year to actually really understand the technology behind it. But when I did in 2015, I was just like blown away by the tech, you know, and I was like, wow, this is like this is going to change the world. You know,
Wow.
I remember thinking that. I was at Bitcoin's first conference in Miami. I was like
Mhm.
one of three girls at that time. It was really
Wow.
small. It was not that many people, but I just remember, you know, ever since then, because I was in hospitality, every time there was a chance to try to solve a problem, I would
Mhm.
always try to go back to this tech that I understood.
Yeah.
But you know, and I would actually, there's like maybe three times I reached out to like whether developers or different companies in the space to see if they can help me solve this problem. And the problem could be like as simple as like doing liquor inventory at a bar or doing track and trace for food items so it doesn't get spoiled. Like those are the things that I was trying to solve.
Mhm.
And so I was trying to reach out. And it was just too much. Like I would have to like develop the entire thing myself. I was like, forget it, you know, like, not even worth it, you know. Like I mean, so the adoption that I was waiting for wasn't really the consumer adoption; it was more the business adoption.
Mm.
Like there wasn't enough business building on it at the time, so it wouldn't move. So it was really fascinating to sit, you know, to watch it during COVID, how it came about, because it's mind blowing actually when you think about how it like took that long. But it was but it's amazing. It was because of like, you know, NFT collection of digital art. I mean, and then it made all these people go on the blockchain and open a wallet they've probably never done before.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really interested in seeing, you know, how it looks like for the next billion people to onboard onto an opening a digital wallet, you know. And it's the same when everybody before the internet said I'm not getting on the internet.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
And
I
everybody
remember. Oh my gosh, I remember saying I'm not getting on Facebook.
yeah, but I just said like every right, and, like it's like you watch these. I mean, history just repeats itself. That's all
Yeah,
it
it's so true.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, well, it's
yeah,
exciting. So, do you have any big visions for the future with this project?
yeah. I mean, I think. I mean, I'll be. I think it's gonna be a long journey so, to get, you know,
Yeah.
to get everybody educated about it, and then I think I do have some big plans, and we can talk about that later.
Okay.
But for now, I think the main thing is, if we together can get the buy-ins of our parents, like the kids' parents, which is us,
Mhm.
into this space and support them. I think it's a big hurdle. And so, you know, and it's natural if the parent doesn't understand the space, how can you, you know, give the blessing for the kid to go open a crypto wallet, right?
Right,
So,
right.
so I think education is everything. I've on our website, we have like a tab for Academy, and I have tried to make it as simple as possible these
Mhm.
videos
You've done
to
so good.
explain like what everything is. But the intention behind the videos is, as a family, we can learn together because we're all on the same playing field right now.
Yes.
The parent doesn't know, the kid doesn't know either.
Yeah.
And so it's great. It's a great time to like learn together. And I think that's how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But once people grasp it and understand the importance of it, and who doesn't care about the future of your child's, you know, work? So it's just like you
Yeah.
know, that's like so important.
Right.
And yeah, and I think if they just really understood the implications and what it looks like and what new jobs really look like for the kids, um, I I I think they'll be more interested in learning. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah. I went on to I made a wallet at MetaMask,
Okay.
and I was looking at, I just love their mission and how they explain everything, and it's just like seems so like promising for the future. And then I was looking at the careers and like looking at all the jobs that were available, and I was like, wow, there's actually a lot. They need a lot of people right now.
Yes, I would say there's a huge demand on Web3. I mean, there's tons of job listing just for Web3 right now, but there's not enough. Um, yeah, the
People
people
that know,
applying.
yeah, what they're doing,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
okay, so I'm gonna put a link to the MetaHug Academy so that you guys that are listening and you don't, maybe you picked up on some things, what's happening, or maybe you don't have any idea what she's talking about. Watch the videos. They're very simple, very put together very well. I really think watching them would definitely help you guys understand what she's talking about with the lingo, because it's hard for our brains to grasp new things, but once we like things that are trickle in, like you said, micro learning,
yeah,
eventually it clicks and you're
yeah,
like, oh yeah, I got this. Just like Facebook, it was like I was on MySpace and like, why would I go to Facebook? It's so boring. It's just like a bunch of words and like, there's no creativity on there. But eventually I was like, okay, fine. Everybody's on there. I gotta get on there. And 2009. And then I was like, okay. Then MySpace went away, even though I thought that was better. I had to join the bandwagon because that's where everybody was. And I'm a social person. And eventually I learned how to use it. I still think it's so overwhelming, but it's taken over the world. Anyway.
It's just adoption, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so, it's just So it's this little micro learning, like you said, and everyone will get it eventually. We're all gonna, be forced to get it at some point. So, well, thank you for taking this time. Can you tell us one thing that you like to do for yourself every day that helps you feel really like grounded and just your true happy self?
Yeah, I love this question because I get asked this. I try to like not with like as a biohacker, not like mentioning equipment. I think the easiest thing that I always like to say, because I know everybody has, is the power of a shower.
I love that. The power of a shower. Yes.
Yeah. And so I take like three showers a day. But I think it's a great way to reset. So I start off with like a hot shower. I have my vision board in there. That's where I do my visualization. It's actually where I actually go to reset. So then that's basically what I do. But then the last part of the shower, I just make it really cold. So it resets your cells in your brain to kick it back into beta. And then it's like refreshing. And I do that. It's probably my most consistent thing, like three showers a day.
Yeah, I love that. I do that water thing too, like either a shower in the summer or a bath in the winter in the middle of the afternoon always makes me feel recharged. And the cold hot thing, if Cisco was on here, Cisco's still and he's biking the Italian Riviera right now, but if he was here, he would definitely chime in on that because he's a big believer in the cold hot. Because whenever he's been sick, he would just go in the shower and do that, and all of a sudden he'd feel better. So
no, it works.
And I try to do it, but I can't do the cold that long. I'm just like, oh, okay. I did it for a minute. Is that okay?
Yeah. Anything is good. You can just it takes time.
Yeah, I know it takes a lot of getting used to, but I love it. And I know I want to talk to you about biohacking too, because I love biohacking and we'll do another episode on that. I'm not like into all the big biohacking devices and things, but I always love to learn about like what people are doing and like, let me try this.
It's
so we'll talk about that in another episode. But thank you for taking this time. I'm so excited about your mission. And do you want to mention anything about September 10th? Or is that going to be just, okay.
Yeah, New York for sure. It's actually the 9th is when we're starting our hackathon.
Okay.
And then the 10th is the in-person at Horseshoe Bay Resort. And we're doing basically in-person and online, teaching kids how to code in Roblox, design. It's a get together for the kids to possibly join the DAO. Parents are welcome. And we're also doing like interview panels with kids. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Kids that started off at 12-year-old that's made it really big in Roblox, and just getting their feedback, just to hear with the kids. It's gonna be fun. And then we have fun activities, group putt and different movie nights, s'mores, and all kinds of fun stuff kind of planned for the night. For the hackathon, that's basically open globally. Basically, we're all the big devs are coming together to hack on solving a problem set, which is Web3 education, and bridging lessons like we just spoke to it today. How do you bridge blockchain education as a lesson inside a game? So they'll be competing, and we have different lessons so that we'll be assigning, whether that's teaching about NFTs, blockchain, crypto wallet, crypto exchange, ownification, own your own data. So there's a bunch of different lessons. And if you go to our website, you can see all that under events. But the whole point of the hackathon is globally, all the kids, it is 25 and under, but kids, 25 and under will join us and hack on this problem set,
So fun. So fun. I love it.
Yeah.
And your brain is on fire. I don't know how you have energy to be doing all this stuff, but that's amazing. And the world is thankful.
Thank you.
All right, Lian, I'll let you go about your day.
Thank you.
Hope to see you soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.